I'm not entirely sure people are aware of how long ancient Egyptian civilization lasted. Hopefully I can explain it in a way you haven't heard before.
It was a long
There
time.
have been over 30 separate Egyptian dynasties going back 5,000 years, right the way down to Alexander the Great and the Ptolemaic dynasty, right up until the Roman conquest. Now, we've all heard this one before, that the Cleopatra was born closer to the moon landings than she was to the building of the first pyramid of Giza, by about 700 years. But here's where
Okay,
things
to
get
pause slightly there. Yes, the Egyptian dynasties were a very, very long period of time. We know this. I know this. However, did you know that in Egyptian records, they record the Egyptian dynasties, or the Egyptian pharaohs, going back way longer than we do with the current historical timeline. We say that like ancient Egypt started around 3100 BC, the first dynasty, when there was a pharaoh that joined the warring North Egypt with the warring South Egypt and made them like one complete country. So there was like two countries before the ancient Egyptians were there. There was definitely a civilization. We seem to think that they just sort of started at the first dynasty, but they didn't. That was just the ones that sort of came together. And they have a king list that goes back literally thousands of years. And for some reason, we just draw a line across the first dynasty and we say that was the first historical pharaoh. And we kind of say that all the pharaohs listed above that one were myths and legends for some reason. I think it has something to do with making sure that everything fits within the timeline of human history as we have it written down today. And we have to make sure that it fits within the Judeo-Christian Islamic timeline. Because we can't have civilizations being any older than the religions that we have kind of recorded. Anyway, I don't think he's going into that in this video, but it's something to think about.
Crazy, because when the first Great Pyramid of Giza was being built, mammoths were still walking the earth. In fact, they wouldn't go extinct for another 600 years after the pyramid was completed.
That's true. The mammoths were around the same time that we think the pyramids were built, but I'm open to the pyramids being a little bit older. Speaking with some people on the ground in Egypt, some people who know a lot of the ancient indigenous oral traditions of Egypt, they say that the pre-dynastic Egyptians, the civilization was there before historians say that it was. So you've got two completely different timelines from two completely different, you've got modern day historians and Egyptologists, anybody from the kind of Western civilization, and then you've got the indigenous people who have a very different timeline of events. And it's really interesting when you see how they clash, and the indigenous one is just way longer.
Here are some crazy things that you might not have realized about life in ancient Egypt.
Cool.
To reduce the spread of lice infestations, ancient Egyptians of all genders would shave their heads. Women would wear fashionable wigs that could be thrown away as soon as they begun to attract lice. Intestinal worms were also extremely common among Egyptians. How common? Well, a side effect of intestinal worms is blood in the urine, and that side effect was so widespread that Egyptians believed that men also menstruated. The Egyptians were also advanced for their day when it came to medicine, but one of the most popular types of medical treatment were enemas. Enemas even had their own mythology. They were said to be a gift from the god Thoth.
I mean, they
Egypt
are
is famous for
a
its
pretty good
well-preserved
gift,
mummies,
let's
but
not
some
lie.
female mummies were left to decay a few days before being embalmed. This was because the families of deceased women often didn't trust the embalmers not to get frisky with their loved one's corpse.
Okay, that was TMI. Interesting about the shaved head thing. I kind of wish that was a thing. Like if everybody just had a shaved head and then you could just decorate your head or wear whatever wig you wanted. You know, because nobody likes their hair, right? Everybody wants the hair that they don't have. I want it straight, I want it curly, I want it whatever different color. I kind of think they were onto something with the whole shave it and wear a wig scenario.